Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
It's a great day. I'm Mark Imperial. For the past 7 years, I've scoured the globe looking for noteworthy experts, businesses, people, places, and things. On this special edition of the show, we'll meet some of the world's leading professionals in health, nutrition, and fitness, people from all across the country, around the world, and in your town. My next guest is Coach Kerry Young. She trains out of the TFW Hicksville, Long Island location. I'm going to bring Kerry on and let her explain a little bit about what TFW is about. So, Kerry, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you for having me.
Kerry, tell us a little bit more about Training for Warriors, or TFW, and specifically the type of clients that you serve.
Okay, so Training for Warriors is a program that Martin Rooney started about 15 years ago. There's about 250 affiliates across 30 countries. And one of the big things we try to do is bring out the warrior within. We feel that everyone has a warrior within them, and our job is to bring out the best that we can out of everyone. The name kind of scares people. They think, oh, it's, like a boot camp or a military type training. That's not the case.
It sounds a little intimidating.
Yes, and it does. And when I first started, I was a little intimidated until I walked into the gym. Once you walk into the gym, you are completely overwhelmed by the amount of camaraderie, the motivation. Most of our clients are, women, housewives, young students, some, men also, and it really is a great program.
Tell me about the typical client that's attracted to you. What are they like, and when they first meet you, what are they looking for?
Most people are looking for a more structured type of training program. A lot of them already go to the gym, and they just feel that they're not getting, they're not hitting the goals that they want. They need, they need more motivation, and we do class settings, and that helps them, give them the motivation they need to continue on.
So, do you find that it's mostly experienced gym goers, or do you find, have you ever found newbies, totally new to fitness, coming to you?
It's a mixture of both. The beauty of the program is we teach our students how to lift properly. So even with the newbies coming in, they're getting a lesson on how to do the training the proper way, so no one gets hurt. We do have people that are more advanced, and they also pick up tips from us.
So I'd imagine that there are probably quite a number of myths or misconceptions about your type of training there. What do you feel are the biggest myths or misconceptions that you find people have when they first come to see you?
Well, the biggest myth, especially for women, is I don't want to lift weights, I'm going to get bulky. I don't want to lift weights, I'm going to look like a man. That is completely false. Lifting weights gives you a lean, toned look. And you would have to train for years and years and years to look like a man, as far, for the women. Mm-hmm. People are afraid they're going to get hurt. We go very slow. We go to, we show you exactly what you're doing, so there's no chance of getting hurt, and you're learning the proper form and technique.
So for a woman, for example, give us an example of how a woman can work out and do her training regimen, yet stay feminine and looking good and toned, but yet not bulky. What are the tips? What advice would you give?
The best advice is to come in and do the program. We lift weights, we sprint, we have 2 strength classes a week, 2 metabolic training sessions a week, and you do what you can. We do squats, we're doing deadlifts, overhead presses, all kinds of different exercises at the weight that's comfortable for you.
So you hear a lot of information out there about what's a better workout. Is it cardio or is it weights? How do you see it?
I see that you have to do a mix of both. When you do cardio, in my opinion, you burn the calories while you're doing the exercise. When you start lifting weights, you're burning the calories while you're lifting the weights, and then for a few hours after, your body is still burning the calories. So if you're looking to lose fat, that's kind of I would go with lifting weights.
So how many days a week do you recommend is a good regimen? I mean, I know some people that get into fitness and they get really gung-ho and start working out like 7 days a week, but I understand that rest days are just as important, if not more important, than the actual workout itself.
Absolutely. Rest is very, very important, and so is sleeping 8 hours a night, which is very hard for a lot of us to get in. Very, very important. We recommend that you work out 4 days a week. As I said before, it's two days are metabolic and 2 days are strength training.
Now, this is going to sound ridiculous, but I have a friend that actually says, because, they work out 7 days a week, and I say, you need a rest day. And they tell me, oh, you know what, I sleep a lot, so I rest when I sleep. Right. I'll sleep like 12 hours. Does that count, or do you actually need a real day?
No, I believe you need a real day. It depends also on your training, but I believe that you actually need a rest day. I think you need that rest day to give your muscles chances to relax, and sometimes mentally you need that day.
So what part does, I understand that, people say nutrition is almost 80% of your success. How do you see that, and what would you say to that?
I believe that wholeheartedly. About 2 years ago, I joined a transformation challenge. I was going to the gym, working out 4 or 5 times a week, and I wasn't seeing a difference in my body. My body was not changing. I was getting stronger. I was lifting heavier weights, but I wasn't noticing it, as far as my body composition. So I started this transformation challenge, which is eating healthy, eating properly, eating every 2 or 3 hours, and eating clean food. And that's when it kind of hit me that, the eating is just as important as the exercising. And the funny thing is, most of the clients that come in that I'm interviewing, no one is eating enough. They're starving themselves, and
yeah, tell me what happens. What happens if they starve themselves?
So what happens is a lot of people, I'm going to have a salad for lunch. They're not including protein in that salad. They're just having a regular salad, and that's it. Your body then thinks, your brain is telling, your body's telling your brain that it's going to starve itself. And what happens is your body holds on to your fat because it's not sure when it's going to eat again. So when you're doing stuff like not eating for 12 hours and then having a salad, your body, the fat that you would be burning is being held on to. If you're eating small meals every 2 or 3 hours, what happens is your body is saying, oh, I'm going to eat in another 2 or 3 hours. I can start releasing some of the fat. So that is a huge problem that I see with my clients.
So on the same topic of food, what about the whole controversy about carbs? Good or bad?
Carbs are good. The right carbs are good. Sweet potatoes, quinoa, brown rice, that, especially when you're working out. There's nothing wrong with having carbs in the right portion. Very important that you're eating the correct food in the right portion size. So for a man, how I tell my clients is use your hand. The hand is a very important tool in measuring. So one handful of carbs, 2 handful of carbs for a male, 1 for a female.
Gotcha. So,
and especially after you're working out, there's nothing wrong with carbs.
Okay, right on. So, Kerry, how did you personally get started in coaching and in fitness?
Yes. So I started at Training for Warriors about 3 years ago. And like I said, I was working out 4 times a week, and I absolutely love the program. We start every class with a motivational story. It's a class setting, so you have people. Not only do you have your coaches keeping you accountable, your fellow students are keeping you accountable. It's a great form of camaraderie. Everyone cheers each other on. And I just loved the message that TFW was sending. So I decided to take the level 1 cert, and I passed. And then with the transformation challenge, I started thinking about the nutritional part of it. And I took the level 1 precision nutrition course online. And so I'm a level 1 precision nutrition coach, and I'm currently taking my level 2 online course, which is a year-long course.
Gotcha. So how can listeners, learn more about you and possibly connect with you?
Yes. So as I said, I train out of TFW Hicksville, which is at 67 Bloomingdale Road in Hicksville, New York. And the telephone number there is 516-937-3740. Or you can email me at tfwcoachkerry@gmail.com. And if you're not in the Long Island area, there are 250 TFW affiliates around the world. It's definitely worth it to Google and check them out.
That's terrific. Kerry, thank you so much for joining me on the program today, and I wish you continued success for you and all of your clients.
Thanks very much, Mark.
I'm Mark Imperial, and welcome back to the program. Of course, we are in the middle of our special health, nutrition, and fitness special edition of the show, and my next guest is from the LA area, Venice Beach to be specific, from Beyond Macros. His name's Matt Walrath. Matt, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me, Mark.
So, Matt, tell the listeners about Beyond Macros, the type of work that you do, and who exactly do you help?
Yeah, so Beyond Macros is a nutrition coaching company that focuses on the CrossFit athlete. And our goal really is to form a human connection between the coach and the client, because what we see was lacking in online nutrition coaching companies is that human connection. Usually a phone call or a video call or an in-person meeting is not included with many of those programs packages. So what our goal is to actually get you some one-on-one time with a coach. And that's what makes our program unique.
Would you say that you're working with really already experienced and advanced athletes? Is that your specialty, or do other people find you?
Yeah, so I would say that probably about 60% of the people we work with are already pretty health conscious, because when you start CrossFit, there's definitely a culture to CrossFit. Diets like the paleo diet, for example, are deeply ingrained in the CrossFit culture. So usually when people start going to CrossFit class, they start to take other aspects of their health a little bit more seriously. And by the time they end up working with a coach at my company, Beyond Macros, they've already taken a few steps in the right direction of health and fitness, and they're just looking to take things to the next level. So for the other about 40% of people, they may have started doing CrossFit, but they still have a bunch of unhealthy habits that they need to untangle. And so we're starting at a little bit more of a basic level and trying to get rid of things like candy and soda and some other dietary vices that are not conducive to their goals.
Tell me a little bit more about the name Beyond Macros, because I imagine this is some sort of industry lingo that is over my head and probably over a bunch of the listeners' heads. So what is Beyond Macros?
Yeah, so macros is actually short for macronutrient. And a macronutrient is the three nutrients that our body actually can regenerate energy from. So those would be protein, fat, and carbohydrate. So that's what people would be a little more familiar with. That's what people see on the side of the nutrition label. And so there's actually something that's very popular in the fitness world called counting macros, or if it fits your macros. And the problem with those dietary styles is that, you get these targets of how much fat, how much protein, and how much carbohydrate you can eat per day. The problem is this allows you to eat whatever you want within that template. And that's great to begin with, but we really at Beyond Macros want to take it beyond the macros. We want to make sure that people are filling their macronutrient targets with quality foods. And as I mentioned earlier, we want to take it beyond, and we also want people to really form sustainable habits. So through this human connection with the coach gets to know the client, gets to know their habits, the obstacles that they run up against, and really help them engineer good, healthy habits that help them hit their macronutrients. So we take it a step beyond.
Oh, I got you. So you definitely are targeting an elite athlete or somebody that already understands that terminology. I could see that. So I'm a bit of a marketing geek myself. So I'm really kind of curious now about how clients find you. Do you advertise or how exactly do they find you to work with you?
Yeah, so a lot of my clients actually find me through word of mouth. I've been nutrition coaching since 2009. So I've had the good fortune of being able to affect a lot of people's lives. And in that way, it's definitely generated a huge referral machine. So that would definitely be the biggest marketing source for us. And then in addition, I do a lot of content marketing. So on my personal website, I have quite a few articles that rank pretty well in Google. And I also have an email list, both for my company Beyond Macros and for my personal website. And both of those have grown to a pretty good size just through content marketing on my blogs and also, just through referrals to the actual newsletters.
Yeah, I understand that you also have an online business besides your training and coaching locally. Tell us about your online business.
Yeah, so that's actually what Beyond Macros is. Beyond Macros is my online coaching business. And then I also have local nutrition clients who I work with in person, one-on-one.
I see. So let's say somebody, engages in your online program. Tell me how do they get started there and what can they expect?
Yeah, so when somebody actually engages me, usually through some of the content that I've put out, I have contact pages or, people can reply to my newsletters, things of that nature. As soon as they reach out to me, then we'll have an initial call just to kind of hash out what their goal actually is and see if we're the right fit. And then if they decide that they want to work with me from there, they get a questionnaire. I take into account, everything that they fill out on the questionnaire, everything we talked about in our initial meeting. And then pretty much from there, they get assigned to a coach and they will work with the coach that I assign them to. And then I will also be overseeing their case as well and weighing in and providing value to them where I can.
You obviously meet a lot of people. What do you feel are the biggest or most common myths or misconceptions that people come to you having?
Yeah, so a lot of people, it definitely varies. It depends on your background. Anybody that's over the age of 40 was probably raised on the low fat is healthy type of craze, and probably eats quite a low amount of fat, which is actually not a good thing. Your nervous system, like your brain, for example, is made up mostly of fat, and you need to eat fat to maintain a healthy nervous system. You also need to eat enough fat to maintain a healthy hormone balance. So especially for men, testosterone is synthesized from cholesterol and fat, and without enough of that from your diet, you might have some testosterone problems. So a lot of times, the beliefs that people have tend to be around something that the media has had in, a major media cycle when people were actually paying attention. Some of the other misconceptions people have is that if you just tell them how much to eat, they'll be able to do it. And they kind of underestimate the obstacles that are going to occur in their life and how difficult it can be to actually create a new habit.
Tell me about that. What are the difficulties? Is it just like cravings or more than that?
Yeah, so when it comes to creating a new habit, most people, when they want to make a dietary change, let's just think about somebody who is January 1st and they have these New Year's resolutions that, they're gonna get fit this year. They're gonna lose a bunch of weight. So they come up with all these ideas, all these things that they're going to do, all these habits that they want to create. And they try to implement too many new behaviors at once. And so it becomes too noisy in their life. So they have, 3, 4, 5 different things they're trying to do or more. Let's say they're trying to eat more protein. They're trying to eat less. They're trying to stop drinking that soda. They're trying to eliminate bread. They're trying to do all these different things. And they kind of lose focus. And it becomes a little bit overwhelming. And then usually they'll throw the baby out with the bathwater. And eventually they'll abandon all of those behaviors instead of just paring it down to the one that they know they can commit to and throwing out the other ones that are just a little bit too difficult right now.
So is that your advice to how people can overcome that, that roller coaster of starting a habit, quitting a habit? What are your best tips for that?
Yeah, absolutely. So generally, when I have my first meeting with a new client, what I'm going to do is I'm going to help them identify the one high-impact behavior that they can implement right now and should turn into a habit over the next month to 2 months. So after identifying that one high-impact behavior, I get them to commit to it 100% for the next month to 2 months. No matter what happens, they're going to get that done. And I'm there to help them work through the obstacles that might occur and allowing them to execute that behavior. And if they want to, they can, we'll identify some other things that will help them. But it's just that one key behavior that you're going to commit to no matter what for the next 1 to 2 months. If you can do that, you'll be just blown away by how much progress you can make over the course of a year, especially.
You mentioned earlier about media trends and stuff that blows up in the media that people pay attention to. What do you say about the whole low carb, no carb thing?
Yeah, so, there's 2 camps. Actually, I'm in the process of writing an article about this right now. There's really the 2 camps. There's the people who say that if you eat a high-carb diet, you're going to feed cancer, you're going to get diabetes, and you're going to die of heart disease. And then there's the other camp now that is, in the current media cycle saying that a ketogenic diet or a very low-carb diet is pretty much the fountain of youth and it's going to save you. I kind of stand on more of a moderate when it comes to carbohydrates. There's definitely times when a very low-carb diet is a therapeutic diet. There's times when a higher carb diet is going to be beneficial, like for a athlete who is training for the CrossFit Games, let's say. And then for most people, just a moderate level of carbohydrate intake is perfectly fine.
So Matt, how did you personally become passionate about fitness and nutrition? How'd you get started? What inspired you?
Oh, man. I was actually a very, very skinny kid growing up. And I was also pretty short. So riding the bench in sports when I had a father who was an absolute all-star in sports was definitely something that kind of drove me towards, okay, how do I not be this skinny kid? How do I develop myself as an athlete? So that really, really pushed me in that direction. And, I spent a lot of time as soon as got my first computer. I spent a lot of time on the internet reading about nutrition and working out and fitness. And my parents were very supportive of it all throughout my life. So that's pretty much where it all started.
That's terrific. How can our listeners learn more about you and connect with you?
Yeah, so you can learn more about me at my website, mattwalrath.com. Last name is Walrath, and Matt is Matt. And then you can learn more about my nutrition coaching company, Beyond Macros, at beyondmacros.com or on Instagram at Beyond Macros. And that's BEYONDMACROS.
Matt, this has been terrific. I really appreciate you being on the program with me today, and I wish you continued success for you and all of your clients.
Thanks so much, Mark, and I appreciate you having me.
In this episode, of course, we're in the middle of our health, nutrition, and fitness special edition of the program, and my next guest is Charlie Pederson from California. And I'm going to bring Charlie on and let him introduce you to a little bit of his work, because Charlie works not only locally, but most importantly, nationally online and training people. So Charlie, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Mark, for having me on your show. As you said, I work here in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I'm glad to be with you.
Absolutely. Excellent. So, Charlie, tell us a little bit about your business and specifically the type of clients that you serve.
Well, I'm in the fitness industry. I work with clients that range anywhere from moms and dads in their homes, and I also work with high school, college, and some professional athletes. My specialties are in home fitness. I have a interesting flexibility technique that I can do with people, and nutrition, online nutrition training.
Gotcha. So tell me about your clients. How do they find you initially, and what is it that they're specifically looking for? Do you serve a certain type of client a lot, or is it a variety?
Well, they can find me on my website. It's charliepederson.com. And most of my clients are in the age range of 40 to 70 years old. They are people who are just interested in maintaining health and wellness and want to live a very active lifestyle, and are seeking out a professional such as myself to help them maintain that nice, healthy life so they can do all the fun things that they want to do.
So when people approach you, do they come with experience, or do you feel that they have, you hear a lot of fitness myths and misconceptions out there. Do you find that they have a lot of those?
They do. There's a lot of information out there. And I wouldn't say there's necessarily a lot of misinformation, but there's a lot of different kinds of information. And I would say people tend to be confused on which path to take. They're not sure for them what path might be best. They've many times tried different paths and had some success. Sometimes they have difficult holding on to that success. So with me helping them, I try to find the best path for them, and then help them stay on that path. And then as life changes, as you get your curveballs in life, I try to help them adjust and so that they can keep going and reach their ultimate goal, which is that nice, healthy, sustainable lifestyle.
Can you give me an example of like somebody approaching you, wanting to work with you? What's the first thing that you're going to do with them to, determine their path?
I just ask them what their primary goal is. I try to find out also what their barriers are. What are your limitations? Is it, are you a stay-at-home mom? Are you someone who travels for work? Do you have an intense lifestyle? Do you have injuries? What are your likes and dislikes? I actually find this interesting. There's a lot of different fitness programs out there, nutritional programs out there, and I think they tend to be high intensity, and I think a lot of people try those things and they're not really for them, and then they kind of just give up on fitness instead of finding something that's very realistic for them to do and accomplish, and most importantly sustain, because that's the key, is being able to find something that you can sustain that leads you to your goals.
I understand that you've been training people locally for a long time, but now you're starting to add working with people nationally. And is that specifically on fitness or nutrition or both? Could you tell us about your new venture online?
Yes, actually, I predominantly have been right here in the San Francisco Peninsula, and I'm just now starting to venture out into reaching out to people that are not just here in the Bay Area. I'm doing that with online personal training and with nutrition coaching to help my clients online reach better nutritional goals.
What do you think about, when people first start getting into fitness and nutrition for themselves? What do you see as the common pitfalls or mistakes that people make that may sabotage their success?
To be honest with you, I think it's life. A lot of my clients are really so very successful, and they have so many opportunities to be entertained, whether it's going to a sporting event or hosting a party or traveling for work, and life gets in the way. And so where my expertise comes is giving them strategies so that they can do all these fun things in life, and still maintain their health and wellness. It might be like, hey, I want you to drink a bottle of water in between each adult beverage that you have while you're at a party. It might be, hey, go after the vegetables and a little bit more while you're at someone's house for a party. Or if you're at a sporting event, seek out this kind of food while you're there, because that might be your best strategy. So just helping people get through life. The pitfalls of life they're numerous and all over the place, and it's really difficult to navigate sometimes.
Earlier, you mentioned a lot of confusion out there with so much information about fitness in the world. Mm-hmm. And, one of the age-old debates that people talk about is like, what's the difference between, should I do cardio? Should I do strength training? Should I lift weights? I don't want to get so bulky. I mean, what do you say about that? And how do you help people, through that confusion?
Right. A lot of times it comes down to body type. It comes down to some likes and dislikes. I think you're right. A lot of people say, oh, geez, I don't want to lift weights because I don't want to bulk up. I mean, the fact of the matter is most of us don't have the physiology to bulk up. Most of us don't lift heavy enough or often enough or intensely enough to actually bulk up. So I would say where people tend to skew, we tend to go towards that quote unquote cardio, walking, running, doing the elliptical. And while that's all fine and good, and there's nothing empirically wrong with that, I think we don't do quite enough on the strength training side of things. And as we get older, we want to maintain our muscle mass. Physiologically, as we get older, we tend to lose muscle mass. And doing, say, straight, low-intensity cardiovascular type exercise, it doesn't promote that kind of lean body tissue maintenance. And for women, as they get older, osteoporosis is a concern, and strength training, loading your body really does help improve your bone density and prevent osteoporosis. I had a client that came to me years ago specifically for that. She was about 60 years old, and I worked with her for many, many years, and every year she went back in to get tested for her bone density. It increased. And even as much as 20 years later, wow, her bone density was still increasing because of the exercises that we were doing from a strength training point of view.
That's great. That's impressive. And, it's funny you mentioned that about, strength training being important, because I started increasing my miles myself, and I never was a runner, but I'm up to like running 8 to 10 miles a day. And, I had some friends that said to me, hey, Mark, you're getting kind of skinny, man. You should start lifting some weights because you don't want that runner's weird body.
Yeah. And it's tough. It's a tough balance. And I think the big hang up with the weight training is, when I was working in a gym, I would see it all the time. People would come into the weight room and they would look around and then they would leave because there's so many options. I think it kind of scares people off, and it's not so much the people that are in there, although I think sometimes that's the case, but I think it's just, they walk in there and they just actually don't know where to start. And I liken it to me working on a computer. It's like, geez, this is really hard. It almost makes me not want to work on one. But you stick at it and you figure out how to do it and you get through it. And I thought really, honestly, that was one of my expertise, is taking someone who's brand new and really getting their feet wet and getting them to feel comfortable in the gym. And I think that's why a lot of people shy away from it. They just actually don't know where to start, and they just tend to say, forget it, I'll just walk on a treadmill because that's a little bit more intuitive.
So I'd imagine that's a benefit of working with a professional like yourself. Is that like one of the best ways for somebody to stay on track and not to get confused and discouraged?
Yes, I really do. I think, people who decide to buy in to using a trainer, they tend to see really, really good success. They really do. They stay on track. It keeps them honest. And some people, it's not for them, but even for the advanced athlete, the advanced fitness person, you learn new things, you learn new ideas, new techniques. You might try something you hadn't thought of before, because we all kind of get in a rut sometimes. So it's important to learn something new and challenge yourself in different ways. And I do that myself. I mean, I work with many, many different personal trainers, and we collaborate and chat about new things they're doing, and I tell them what I'm doing, and we learn. So I think, people who work with a trainer definitely stay on track and see better results.
No, it makes a lot of sense. So, Charlie, I've noticed and I've found that people that get into the industry, the fitness industry, because it's a tough industry, you obviously come in it with a passion. It's not a money-driven, decision. So what initially inspired you to become a fitness professional?
Well, when I was in college, I started off as kind of a construction management major, and I always liked the idea of building. And I always liked fitness. I was always an athlete, and I always enjoyed working out and trying new things and being outdoors and all that. And as I kind of went through my first couple of years of college, I really decided, I'm going to shift my interest more towards physical education. And there's so many different things you can do with that. You can be a school teacher. You can, you can go into fitness. You can maybe go into the medical field, become a physical therapist or something of that nature. And for me, I decided, I like this health and wellness field. I thought it was, this was back in the early 90s, and I thought, wow, this is relatively new, and I think this is going to be bigger one day. It was already big, but I think it's going to get even bigger. And so I went with it. I decided to get a degree in physical education, and then I knew right then and there that I was going to be a personal trainer. So when I left college, 2 weeks later, I had a job as a fitness instructor, and I never looked back. And for me, it was always about ongoing education, and learning new things, and with the idea that I was just going to help people. And if I always had that attitude, that it would do me well in the long run, and it has. It's always paid back in spades. Always giving back, and always keeping the idea of, I'm just learning to help people or help my current clients, or maybe, maybe even attract a new type of clientele. So.
Oh, that's terrific. Hey, Charlie, how can our listeners learn more about you, connect up with you, and possibly work with you?
Easy. Go online. My website is www.charliepederson.com. Pederson spelled Pederson. And all my contact information's on there. You'll learn about me and the different programs that I offer. And you can email me. My email's on the website, and I'd be more than happy to have a conversation with anybody out there who might be interested in what I do and how I might be able to help them. And if I can't help someone, I try to steer them in the right direction towards somebody that can.
All right. Hey, Charlie, I really appreciate you taking the time and coming on the program with me today. And I wish you continued success for yourself and for all your clients across the country and right there in your backyard.
Thank you so much for your time, Mark. It was a pleasure.
That wraps up another episode of our Health, Nutrition, and Fitness Special Edition. If you know a remarkable expert, business, person, place, or thing that we should feature on the show, drop me a line on my email, radioguest@markimperial.com. That's radioguest@markimperial.com. Until next time, I'm Mark Imperial, Take care and make it a remarkable week.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.